Soul Family, Jenna Pinkstone, the Southern Oracle, signing on and syncing up with you on this beautiful fall day. I'm going to be sharing with all of you a psychic scrapbook that has been purchased by a client but is also intended for the collective. It is a tribute of that which connects us all, and if you find yourself looking at this video today, there is a message that is intended for you. So thank you for joining us, and let's begin. In syncing with this auric field today, I find that there is an abundance of copies, something that you would see kind of a repetition of in reference to organic arisings in nature. What is actually being brought to the forefront of the visual is that of a bubble bath. You see how each of these bubbles, on a microscopic level, they will look individually unique from one another, but when kind of taking in the perspective of the entire bubble bath before you that has been drawn and is steamy, with the bubbles all kind of jostled together and connecting it with a quality of oneness, these bubbles all seem like copies of one another. And they are all merged, and they are all kind of conglomerated would be the word, moved and mushed and kind of squished together in this form that creates this foam that is like a larger aspect of something that is beheld by the assembly of many tiny copies of the thing itself, okay? And when looking closely at energies expressed through metaphor by spirit, we can always take into play different perspectives. We can always kind of fast forward or pause, or we can zoom in or zoom out for a microscopic or macroscopic perspective of what it is that is being shared with us. And so that is, let's just take it as it is right now, that of a bubble bath. When we move closer into the bubbles, into the foam that is created from these miniature copies of each bubble in and of itself, and how it connects to the next bubble and the next bubble, and how every single bubble is therefore connected to each other, and it kind of creates this metaphor, this construct of oneness, does it not? Because even though, like, if we scooch in, if we zoom in to that microscopic level, it looks like chaos. It looks kind of like this crowded atmosphere of these bubbles that are being denied individual expression of themselves. They are merging with other bubbles. Sometimes their identity is becoming fuzzy, and these bubbles, they can feel squelched. It does feel squelched. It feels squelched and crowded, and yet it is mostly open space. It is mostly open space that they find themselves within, if even they themselves are considered to exist at all. Because as soon as anything of greater mass moves into that shared space that those bubbles are sharing with one another, they cease to exist. They begin to pop. They begin to fizzle. And a new shape is sculpted from the interface of this other mass with those bubbles in and of themselves. I'm seeing that each of us is one of these bubbles. Each of us is feeling kind of squelched in silence in this massive chaos of where we are all feeling as though we do not have the voice that we came here to emit. We do not have the expression that we identify with at this time. There is something of denial. There is something of regret, and the notion that when something of greater mass moves in outside of our own individual or even our collective influence of many bubbles, that our own influence, our own impact in this world will not only not be known, it will be smited. It will be completely removed from this setting, this scenery that we find ourselves within. Let's look a little more closely at this. Let's look inside an individual bubble for a moment. Let's extract one bubble and take a closer look, shall we? There's so much more here than empty open space, like what is perceived at first glance of a bubble. There is a perspective of the entire world reflected within the orb of that which it actually exudes. We ourselves, our identity, is this illusion, and yet we are able to embody all that we perceive. This bubble extends this metaphor. It all would be existing in a vacuum if this bubble were not permitted to float about and perceive that which it reflects, that which it believes that it embodies, that which it at times forgets. It is here to, I guess you could say, project to the world. Like any other object offering a reflection, a mirror, a stained glass window, there is a filter by which that which is reflected in a prismatic way through its presence, that it is forever shaped and molded by the thing which is refracted through its boundaries. This prismatic aspect is interesting because it plays out like a movie projector for the world, for others to behold. And we ourselves, as the prisms, as these bubbles that float at times, at other times we are suspended, at other times we are squelched and we are squished with many others. And this projection can become distorted, and we can forget ourselves, and we can become confused as to what the point of our existence here really is. This projector can become confused as to our own identity. We begin to identify with that which we ourselves are projecting. We forget that we are not that movie that we ourselves are displaying up on the screen for others to enjoy, for others to be triggered by, for others to react to become emotional about. We are not that thing. that filters through the barrier of our soul. There is no barrier. That illusion is what we actually are here to receive. That is what we are here to feel, to understand, to realize that whenever we pop, that whenever we become convoluted and squished in with many other bubbles, that the perceived separateness between us, although it may feel very visceral, it may feel very uncomfortable, crowded, distorted, unusual. These are words for experiences. These are not words for what we are. For the perspectives and experiences that we emit upon the screen, that we project to the world to behold, those last far longer than the bubbles themselves. Those carry on. Those are the energies that are transferred from one to another to another. We need not define ourselves by them, but we should always and forever be cognizant of that which we share. Not to forget what we are here to actually do, and that is to realize there is no separation between one bubble and the next. It is this continuous foam of experience for spirit to sink itself into and feel immersed by. We ourselves can immerse our own experience of that as well. We ourselves can identify with spirit that drew the bath and poured the bubbles in the first place. That can be a perspective and experience that we ourselves embrace. And we are encouraged to do so. Doing so would provide a different perspective which will shape-shift just as the foam is shape-shifted as we submerge ourselves within the warmth of the bath we have drawn for this experience we have embarked upon. The experience will shift, our engagement with it, and all those who behold this same perspective that is our birthright. That was wonderful. Thank you for joining me on this sacred message, and I have so many thoughts. I will begin sharing these thoughts of these sacred soul story psychic scrapbooks with my Patreon community after each individual session is complete. The profoundness of how my wisdom is gleaned is firmly rooted in the reflection that we all share there together. If this was a message that spoke to you, and if you are interested in future offerings, I hope that you will like and subscribe to this channel, and to also visit me on southernoracleeye.com, where you also can book a soul story psychic scrapbook session that will be personalized to you and also intended for the collective. This is Jenna Pinkstone, the Southern Oracle, signing off today.